Time for our Minn Kota unlock the lake for the third stop of the year for the Bassmaster Elite Series, the Santee Cooper Lakes in South Carolina. Ronnie, so much anticipation for that. It's been 16 years since we've been there this time of year. Everyone knew there would be big ones. We did get the big ones. They did show up, and as a bonus, a lot of diverse ways of catching them. And that's what makes this look at our top four that much more fun.
We did get a little taste of Santee Cooper in 2020, but like you said, a different look this time, and we're going to see a lot of different areas play. Remember in 2020, we saw a lot of Jacks Creek come into play. Those were a predominant portion of our leaders were. A lot of different people factored this week in a lot of different areas, and Luke Palmer won. Hey, he had a strong showing, and it was kind of backloaded for him as he had a final couple days that were for the record books.
Absolutely. And Luke Palmer came into this with a good bit of momentum. Hadn't had a terrific start to his season, but his Bassmaster Classic just down the road at Lake Hartwell was fantastic.
Yeah, and Luke Palmer's one of those guys, we mentioned it. There's a short list of anglers, 5 to 7 anglers that have shown the ability to compete at this level and possibly win events. They just haven't won them yet. Luke Palmer's on that short list and gaining steam every single event. Like you mentioned, Tommy, the last 2 events in South Carolina, Palmer showed up big time. And he did it this time, though. He was kind of throwing a spinning rod a little bit at Hartwell. Not his element. Here, big rod, big line, and he was catching big bass every day.
One other angler in our top 4 also focused on these cypress trees, but it was a different sort of focus, a different sort of way of fishing them. Luke showed it can be done in more than one way.
And when you catch a 9+ pounder like he did right here, you know you have a shot to jump back in the game. That is a game changer that makes up a lot of weight in a short order to catch up to the anglers and at the top.
Well, the defending champion from this body of water was from 2020, and it's Brandon Pollinik, 11-time Classic qualifier, 6 wins, former Progressive Angler of the Year.
And for Brandon Pollinik, we got to see early in the morning on Thursday, day 1 of this event. He started out offshore fishing using his electronics, a different approach, but we saw it work and pay off for him in 2020. He caught a couple key fish day 1, had a great day 1 limit, got to see him on camera all 4 days, like you mentioned, but his game plan had to change each day as it got warmer, as the fish progressed more towards the spawn. He had to adjust as well, and he had to move shallow to make it work the rest of the week.
Yeah, 26 pounds on day 1, 22, 27 on day number 3 to put himself definitely in the conversation for the win. And he got himself close at certain times of the day.
He was one of those guys that, hey, one more bite, Tommy, and he would have joined the Century Club, but finishing 3rd place this week, 97 pounds, I believe, just under that 100 mark. Palaniuk will take that. He still wants a Century Club mark, though, Tommy. I know that's the one thing they probably hasn't done in this sport. But for Palaniuk, we kind of showed, hey, are you going to be able to go back-to-back at 2 different times of the year win? He almost pulled that off.
Another one of the great stories, also fishing the cypress trees, but a different, more old-school approach was Caleb Kuphall.
Some of those guys who are maybe against the forward-facing sonars and some of the electronics these days, they were tuned in watching Caleb Kuphall go to work because he was picked up an old-school spinnerbait and a flipping jig and went to work on cypress trees. And Tommy, other than day 2, that is where he stubbed his toe, 13 pounds. Otherwise, his other 3 days combined for 90 pounds of bass for 3 days. That's incredible.
Unbelievable. Only guy to ever get a Century belt and didn't catch 20 fish over 4 days of fishing.
4 fish on day 2. It's almost inconceivable, but that was the way Santee Cooper was this week. The fish were on the move. They were changing every single day. The weather was wacky. We had a postponement in this event. Day 3 was actually moved to Sunday, day 4 on Monday. So these anglers had to adjust every day, and day 2 was the day he stubbed his toe. But whatever change-up he had, maybe it was minimal, it paid off big time. 31 pounds on day 3, 29 more on day 4.
People thought, well, he had magic cypress trees. He said it's really not about the trees. It's about how close they are to deeper water, drop-offs and channel swings and stuff like that. He said that was the real key.
And you mentioned it, different areas played than last time we were here. That area, that's a historical area where Caleb Kuphall was. Same goes for Drew Cook, this region of the lake. He didn't have it to himself, but man, he made a 500-yard stretch or so, maybe a half-mile stretch of Santee Cooper really pay off for 105 pounds of sight fish.
Yeah, doing something completely different from Pollinik, though Pollinik was really just around the corner at the mouth of the same creek he was in there.
Yeah, Drew Cook, when we think about the guys who are top 5 at a certain technique, whether it's flipping a jig, whether it's top water, when we talk about sight fishing for spawning bass, Drew Cook, he's top 5, and he might not be 2, 3, 4, or 5. He may be the best sight fisherman on the Elite Series, and he proved it this week. He was very excited to get here. He had a great start in Florida, obviously. St. John's River getting a top 10, doing a little bit of this. but man, he got to do a lot of this at Santee Cooper, all 20 fish coming with his eyes.
Great all-arounder as well, never been out of the top 20 in Angler of the Year points, now in his 4th year with the Bassmaster Elite Series.
He was kind of one of those guys surprised when you look back at his record that he hasn't won one yet, but he got close this week. Hey, he was actually the wire-to-wire winner. That is hard to do on a body of water like Santee Cooper where 30-plus pounds is swimming around, but day one, 31 pounds, and he was consistent the rest of the week, 24 each day.
Always threatening to go to another part of the lake. He had something else set up there, but he never could pull away from this place that turned out to be the right idea. This one had something that just he couldn't leave. He could not leave it.
That's 7:14 right there on the final day, the final 30 minutes of his tournament, final hour of his tournament. That was the one where we knew, hey, this is Drew Cook's tournament. He's going to win. Now he's in the driver's seat.
105 pounds and 5 ounces, a century belt. Drew Cook, your champion. That's your Minn Kota. Unlock the lake.